Okay, so what these are going to be some brief notes on Chapter 6. In Chapter 6, we're going to start looking at scatterplots, association, and correlation. The first thing we need to know is just what is a scatterplot. A scatterplot is actually just a common used display when you have two quantitative variables. So when you're comparing two things, a common one would be height versus arm span. That's a common one. Age versus height, that would be another one maybe. Okay, so when we are looking for a scatter plot, we have to be able to determine if there's an association. Okay, in our previous unit, we talked about things in terms of distributions. We will not have a distribution for scatter plots. For scatter plots, we have associations. Now, when we describe scatter plots, we're going to use DUFs. Okay, still going to use context. Remember, for histograms, we would use SOCs. Now we're using DUFs. Okay, so when we describe direction, you have two options. It's either going to be positive because it goes up, or it's going to be negative because it goes down. Let's highlight all these different things that we're going to describe. Okay, unusual features. Unusual features include things like outliers. And if you have an outlier, you need to include the ordered pair where it's at. Okay, you also can include clusters. Clusters are a group of points that don't fit with the other points. Okay, when describing forms, there's actually four forms. There's linear, which is what it sounds like, which is a line. There's, I'm going to kind of put the next one here, curved. Now here's the thing with curved. Curve only has one hump. It has one curve. Okay, so quadratics are curved, exponentials are curved. Things that only curve once is a curve. Okay, the next one is something exotic. And that is really how you say it. It's a something exotic. It's an exotic type of graph. And these are sine curves, things that have change in directions multiple times. And then the last type of form is where there's no pattern. It's just randomness and you cannot see either a line or a curve or anything. So you have to decide which of those four things it is. And then the last thing you use to describe an association is you use the strength. The common words for strength are going to be strong, moderate, or weak. And the way you determine that, it's kind of a judgment thing, but after seeing multiples, you'll be better at it. It's how close points are to each other. If points are really far apart, it could be weak. If they're kind of medium, it would be moderate. If they're really close together, it's going to be strong. How close points are together. Okay, so when we describe something, instead of using distribution, we're going to say association. Okay, and so we didn't do a sentence stem in class, but I'm going to do one now. I think that would be helpful. So there is a blank association between blank and blank. Okay, so this right here, I'm going to use this little pencil. It's going to be thin, but there is this is where you're going to say positive or negative. And then this is where you're going to say what type. Linear, curved, exotic. If something has no pattern, you're just going to say there does not seem to be an association between blank and blank because there is no pattern. You don't have to talk about the other things because everything doesn't really fit. Okay, so there is a positive or negative linear curved exotic association between, now here what you're going to put in is you're going to put your X value name, and this is your explanatory. Remember, explanatory has an X, and this is your Y value, which is the response. Okay. Let's see what else we can say. There is a positive linear association between height and arm span. There appear to be any, I guess we shouldn't say any. There does or doesn't. If there are outliers, right here you would say where they are. So if it does, you're going to say where. And then you're going to say there does appear to be outliers, and the association appears, and again, you can change up the wording some, but if you do it this way and just fill in the blanks, it'll always work. Appears to have blank strength. And then this is where you would fill in the strong, moderate, weak. Okay? I have seen some people put the strength up here in the first sentence also, and you can do that. It's kind of hard to explain it right now, but as we do more, you're going to see kind of what you need to do to cover everything. But the big takeaways are you have to make sure you talk about it as an association. Do not say distribution. You have to make sure that you have your context, and you have to make sure that you cover all of your duffs. Sometimes I like to call it doofus. Everybody remembers a doofus, right?